Okay, hello, hi friends. Today we're going to be talking about completing tasks. Productivity, yay! Oh no, everyone just left. Uh, Jokes aside, even though I think the world is kind of in a place of chilling right now, we're not as hot for productivity as we were a few years ago, I'm still a big nerd in my heart. I like thinking about this stuff. I like playing with new tools, seeing what feels good, and I have shared a lot of this on my channel. I've done a few app reviews, my past Notion setups. I think I've talked about Obsidian at least once, though that one I've mostly been playing with offline, so to speak. But this channel actually started as a bullet journaling channel, so we've covered a lot of ground here, and there's still more to explore in the world of productivity. But something I like to keep in mind is that there's no correct answer for everybody. There's no best system in the world. Some things work better for certain people or in certain ways, and sometimes they work really well for a while, and then something happens, you change, your routine changes, and it doesn't work anymore. And that's like kind of what happened with me, but this system that I'm going to talk about today has been working super well for me, and it's been several months. And it works in a very particular way that I'm going to talk about. But I'm enjoying it so much that I'm actually working on an Android app. I talked about this in my interstitial journaling video, I believe, where I'm working on an Android app that basically simulates like a deck of index cards. I'm going to probably talk about that soon, but before I got to that part, I wanted to talk about the analog system that kind of inspired it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Maybe someone else will catch the index card bug like me and we can all be nerds together. But the reason that I kind of latched onto this system is because I have a problem. For years of my life, I've had this problem with recurring tasks specifically. And this applies mostly to things like cleaning my gosh dang house. Anything you have to do repeatedly on some kind of schedule. What usually happens for me is that I set up a schedule that has all the stuff I need to do on it, and I have everything automatically update and repeat on a very, what seems reasonable at the time in terms of repetition. And then what happens is a few days will go by where I don't do the vacuuming, or I put off cleaning my shower because it sucks. And then all of a sudden, I have like 20 recurring tasks that are just rolling over every day forever. It keeps happening, and then I get so overwhelmed that I either abandon the system completely or I just delete everything and never clean my house again. But late last year, the YouTube algorithm, which is usually pretty good to me, fed me a bunch of videos about planning with index cards. And the ones I remember hitting the hardest, like getting to me the most, were by Time and Tide plans. That's the one I remember. There were a few different videos that I watched from different channels, but I was so interested, so curious about the feel of the index cards that I got some cards and a little box. This is actually probably my third iteration on the box. I tried a couple other ones that I didn't like as much, but this one is really working out for me. But we're going to talk about what's in my box of index cards, and how I use the system, and why I think it's so effective for me specifically. So these cards, these ones with the grid on them, I got because they are good for fountain pens. They are these, I thought they were Clairefontaine paper. This is what the box looks like. I got them from Goulet Pens, where I get most of my pen related equipment. But I really like them. I don't know if it's coming across, but you can see like the shimmer and the sheen and stuff on the ink, which is what I really like. But of course, you know, any type of index card will work for this. You could even use just like some small pieces of paper, whatever you want. And then for the box, I've also seen people just like clip them together with something like this. You don't need a box. You don't need anything really. I've seen people put them in like a little pouch or an envelope. Anything that will keep them in order will work just fine. But because I find the planning is most effective when it's pleasant to do, when it feels good to do, It was important to me that the index cards let me use my nice pens. And then also I've got some stickers here, and the box is just very easy to navigate. One thing that was important for me was that the dividers have to be pretty sturdy. I tried some little like tabs that go on the edge of the cards that I was using as dividers, and those did not really work. They were too flimsy. It was hard to like open the box to a certain spot. You may not find that to be a problem for you, but for me, I needed these like solid ones that kind of act like files for the cards. So physically, all you really need is some cards. The dividers help quite a lot, and then something to keep them in helps quite a lot, but those things are kind of optional. And as for which dividers I have in here, they're in a specific order right now because this is just how it goes as I use it, but I have one divider for each number of the day of the month. So back here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It goes up and up and up. Today is actually the 16th. I haven't gone through my cards yet for today because I'm going to demonstrate it on this video. But yesterday was the 15th, so I have yesterday's cards right here, and then today's cards. And then I also have a month tab, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. I have a quarter tab, and then these ones were kind of experiments that didn't really pan out. But I also have a done section and an idea section. There's literally nothing in the idea section. I was kind of thinking I would make cards and then put them in there and then like look at them again later, but I just didn't end up doing that. And that's okay. You try some things and they don't work. But having a divider for each day of the month is definitely a staple of this system for me. Depending on how you like to plan things, you could probably devise a similar system where it's like 1 week for each divider, or you know, some other chunk of time where all the tasks get divided into those chunks. It doesn't necessarily have to be every day, but I think this works really well. So the way that this works, as I mentioned, is that the current day, or the previous day, if it's in the morning before I've gone through it, is always at the front. So the stuff that I'm doing next is always at the front, right where I can reach it. I don't have to go searching for a particular day in the back somewhere, because the cards, you can move them. You can move them around, and that's something that really helps with this kind of system, is the mobility of the cards, as you're going to see. So when I go to my desk in the morning, this is usually pushed back here where I can see it, but it's not in the way. I pull these up. Well, actually, first thing in the morning, I usually space out, watch YouTube a little bit. But once I'm ready to do something, I take all my cards out from the first tab, and then I move this to the back. And it's always cycling through like that. So like the next day, I'll pull this one, the next day I'll pull this one, and it will just keep looping through so that the current day is always in the front. I'll take this next batch of cards, and I can already tell I've got a lot on today, and we're gonna deal with that. But I just put them right at the back of my current stack of cards. Now, these first couple cards, I keep some, like, they're not tasks. My very first one is this vision card, and I've decorated it a little bit with stickers. The edge of this sticker keeps coming up. It's driving me crazy. I might have to like glue it down or something. But I have just some stickers because I know that this card is going to be in the deck for a while. It's not something I'm going to throw away after like a week. So we have Chan on here because the first thing on my vision card, and what this card as a whole is for, is just so that every day when I'm thinking about what I'm going to do, I see the point of it all, the objectives, the goals, the vision of what I would like to do with my effort each day. And the first one here, build a strong hot bod. I've got Project Get Jacked going for like the 3rd year in a row. But just a focus on sort of healthy habits, strength training. It's a big one. Building a strong bod, you got to do strength training. Making sure I'm eating things that are nourishing me well, and just taking care of myself physically with the draw of a vanity here. to encourage me to do things that are not super comfortable, like lifting heavy weights. And then this one, finding career contentment, makes me laugh every time I see it because I made this card on May 18th, which was about 10 days before I was laid off from my job. So I was already kind of like in the headspace of like, something's not right here. I should think about that and think about how I can make it better. So, go me for being like mildly psychic, I guess. But every day I look at this card, I look at my cute little stickers. These are just from albums that I bought. I think this one's from Karma. This one might be from Hop. This one is one I made, as well as some of the other ones. Back here, I've got my squid stickers on here. But it's just a little bonus, and I have Chan on here because he's strong. A true inspiration. But I see this and I think to myself, how can I support these things today? And I keep that in my brain. I pulled this idea from the 12-week year, which I do really like the 12-week year system, despite my inability to be consistent with it for a full 12 weeks. I've tried so many times. It just isn't working out for me, but I like a lot of the concepts behind it. I feel like they make a lot of sense. So this is something that I've kept from that. And then behind the vision, I have goals, and I might blur some of these or cover them up just because they're like kind of a little bit personal, but basically for each of these, I'll show my index card one. I'm not going to blur that one out. But I have complete my index card app with focus work 2 times a week, and then some research I need to do on what I'm actually going to do with the app when it's done, whether I want to put it up on Google Play for a price or do some sort of freemium thing. So all of these things are things that I can focus on doing, but this isn't like a project plan. That's important. I'm not doing project planning or even like one-off task management in the index cards. This is really just a reminder of what sorts of tasks are going to be like big effort on these goals and what would I like to have done for this time period. So I've decided when I wrote these tasks that this is going to be for June. Why did I write July 1st? Okay, July, June, August, and September. I'm gonna focus on these goals. And then I have a second goals card here because they didn't all fit on the first one, where I want to do some art practice, and then also my business/career Hail Mary. I was really desperate even before the layoff to try and find something else that was going to work for me, so I think that's very funny. But by this point, I've sort of reviewed what I'm working on, what I would like to get done, and then we get into the task cards. So each of the task cards has a similar format here that I decided on when I was making them. It's like pretty straightforward. At the top here we have the title, the main description of the task. This one is 10 minutes of meditation or journaling. Below it I have some details. I don't really read these, but they can be helpful if you have something like that's a little bit of a vague task that you want to make sure you know, like this is when it's done, is when I complete this. On here I've just written some notes about like why I would do this. A little encouragement, if you will. On some of them, like this meal prep one, I have some more specific notes. I wrote on here, I want to prepare 4 breakfasts, 4 lunches, focus on 20 grams of protein per meal. That's the kind of stuff that I put in the description. And then I have a log, and this is not critical for things that happen within the span of a month typically, but it becomes more important if you have things that repeat longer than a month away, and I'm going to talk about why. But I also just kind of like having it to see how long I've been keeping up with things, how often I'm doing them. If it gets to be like the last time I did this was a really long time ago because it keeps rolling over. Like actually this one, this probably doesn't really need to be a card. I don't really look at this one that much or do it intentionally. I kind of journal when I feel the drive to do it. But this one I can see the last did in April and it's supposed to be done daily. daily cards, maybe the log will get a little bit too busy if you're doing it every day, but I like to have the log, but it's not like super necessary unless you need to keep track of things that take a long time to repeat. And then below that, I have written down when this should repeat. So I have things like daily. That one was something I was trying. I'm not going to talk about these ones because they're a little bit weird. Weekly, just do it once. Weekly on Sundays, stuff like that. Bi-weekly. Anything that helps me understand when I've completed a task where it needs to go in next. So every morning after I look at my vision and my goals card, I will flip through these one by one, and I will often write them down in a journal. Sorry, I was off screen a little bit. I will often write down tasks in a task list. I do still do that pretty often, but I don't necessarily need to because the tasks are all here on the cards. And then if I get to one, like for example, meal prep I typically do on Sundays. This Sunday we hadn't gone to the grocery store, and so I didn't do it. It's now Tuesday. It's kind of late to do like meal prep for the week, so I'm gonna shuffle this one forward. We're just gonna say I'm not doing this today. We don't have the bandwidth, we don't have the energy, whatever it is. And this is really the game changer for me because this is just a physical card that I can move around. So if this is something that I want to do as soon as possible, it's so easy. I just flip to the next day, drop it in. If it's something that I know I'm not going to be able to get to for a little while, I can go a little further. Like for example, I see I'll probably want to do this next Sunday. Next Sunday is the 21st. We pull this. We have the 21st right there. Drop it in. And by doing this, this is what I think has really helped me stick to this program here, is because there's a certain amount of like comfort in knowing that the task is in here and it's gonna come back to me when it's time to do it. This happens with like digitally recurring tasks, but there's a lot of steps in between. Like if I don't do something on a certain day, then I have to go in, I have to change the date, I have to like press something to postpone it, I have to decide when it's going to postpone to. Sometimes it messes up like the future recurrences. None of that here. We just move a card. And it seems like a little silly, like how simple it is, but for some reason, it has just really worked. And typically what I'll do, so I'll go through these. We're not going to go through all of them on camera right now, but typically what I'll do is I'll pick some specific cards. Let's say I picked Clean Victor's Cage that I want to focus on. And so what I'll do is I will, after I'm done going through all these, I'll put them back in here and I'll push them back where they go. And then I'll have my focus card of what I'm doing just like right here. And sometimes if I have multiple that I know I want to do kind of in a row, I'll line them up like this and I'll put them out like here. And because I'm at my desk most of the day and I work at this space, this is all I really need to keep these top of mind. I just have to have them visible and I can see if I need to, like what details I need to consider for these various things. And then hopefully I do the thing on the card. Hopefully I do the thing on the card. You see, sometimes I'm really consistent. Like we can see on here all the strength workouts I've done. I think I've even forgot to write some of them down. But we can see all the strength workouts I've done since Christmas Eve, apparently. I started this near Christmas Eve. Once I fill up the whole line, like I'll probably do the one more today, and then I'll just write another row. And then because they're just index cards, they're not like super valuable. Once this is filled up, I can just toss this one and I can make a new one and slot it right in and pick up where I left off. So, but once I do a task on the card and it's ready to be checked off, so to speak, I just write down the date underneath here. I just do month, day, year, American style. And then I look at when the next repeat is. So this one, I kind of just know in my head when I'm doing my strength workouts. I typically do them like Tuesday and Friday and sometimes Saturday. And so I'll look at this, I'll go, okay, today's Tuesday, so the next one's gonna be in 2 days on Thursday. Drop it right in. And there's a very satisfying feeling to like plunking these in here. It's a very tactile thing, and I'm trying to capture that with my app. The tactileness of it. Tactility? I don't know if that's a word. But it's one thing I really like about these is that you can hold them in your hands, you can flip through them, and you can move them with like effort. I don't know. Is that making sense to anybody? Now, the other thing to think about is that if you do have something that takes place longer than a month away, that's what these little sections are for. So for example, I have this full litter box clean, sort of the deep clean, where I want to do this every 6 weeks. So I don't know why I wrote next on here. I don't usually do that, but I can tell from the log, which it's kind of blurry. I think it says June 2nd. I can tell I last did this in early June. If I had tried to file this in my days like this, when it was done in June, the 14 that was coming up next would have been for June and not July. So what happens is I put it in the month tab, and then when I get to the end of the month, so when it ticks over to July, I'll pull out whatever cards are in here, and then because time has passed, the little sections have rolled over, I can see, oh, okay, now this is time to go into the daily folder things, the daily sections, and I'll put it in 14. I could technically move it now. I am just going to put it back in the month and work on that later, but that's how you would do it. And then if you have something that's really, really far away, you don't necessarily need the quarter tab. You could just put it back into the month tab and wait for another month. But I have a quarter tab here that I use for longer term things. Like I have a quarterly task to go through all my office drawers and sort of pull out things that don't belong in there, organize things, because they tend to get kind of out of control. So I have this one that I only do quarterly, and then I've just wrote M2 on here, which is that I would prefer it to do in like the second month of the quarter, just how I've been planning things. So that's it. And then I have the done section. I don't know if I recommend this. I should probably just take these out of here. They're just like one-time tasks that I've completed. Or I was doing this like 12-week year thing that didn't really pan out. And a lot of those cards are in there. But that is it. That's the whole system. It's really just moving the same cards forward day to day. And having these very visual, very tactile reminders of what I want to be doing with my time. And the biggest thing I think that helps me with this one is that it makes it so much easier to accept that I can't do everything all the time. Like, I look at this, I'm definitely gonna have to trim this little section down when I go through it, like for real today, because I just sort of did a demonstration. But like, I can see this task list, I can hold it in my hand, and I can see that this is like too much. And something about this, as opposed to lines of text on a screen, makes it much easier to grasp that something has to be moved. And then, like I showed, the moving of it is so quick and it's so easy, and it's kind of fun. Like, it's fun to sort things around in this little box. It's just, it brings like a little moment of delight to something that is like fairly boring, you know, in the grand scheme of things. It just makes it a little bit more fun. And then it gets even more fun if you like decorate stuff and like draw little doodles and things. So it's just been really nice. Now you might be asking, like, what about the big project-based tasks? Things that have a certain progression, things that need to be like planned out in advance, things with like many tasks that are done in a certain order. And For that, I just don't use this system. Or if I do, it's not me putting individual tasks on the cards and then completing them, but instead it's things like this. Focus session, index card app. Identify next task to complete, work on it, focus, make notes on progress. And I wanted to do this twice a week. This was a different format of the log that I was trying that it's a little sketchy. I wouldn't recommend this one exactly, just trying things out. But instead of having a list of things that I need to do in the index cards, I have repeating like work blocks that I put on the cards instead. And then sometimes I will also include something like this, which has like an overview of the project. This one I've actually been keeping in my little card holder on my desk, so I know what I'm going to be working on next. But that's how I do it. Instead of using this as like a project-based task manager, this is really intended for recurring stuff, for routine, and for establishing like forward motion in what I'm doing each day, and not as much like a project planner. So there we are. For anyone who's interested, I'll be back to talk about my app when it's done. I'm actually getting really close to finishing it. I'm very proud. I'm still considering, like I said, I had a card in here. I'm still considering like what publication is going to look like. Still getting some of the core features wrapped up, but it's pretty close. And I like how I showed this a little bit in my other video, but I really like how visually it does emulate the index cards fairly well. But there we are. I've rambled too much about index cards. This has kind of been my rabbit hole for a few months. I don't know how long it's going to hold me, but it's been working well so far, as I mentioned. But thanks for watching. Smash that subscribe button. I'll be back soon. I've got a lot of plans for YouTube. A lot of plans. But that's all for today. So peace. Bye. See you soon. Have a good day.